Thank you, everybody, so much for being with us today. This is the first time, clearly, that we've done a Google Hangout, so our apologies, and thank you to Laura for fixing it for us. We are also, for the first time, hosting a locally based climate collab contest, so we're really honored to be able to do that. I'm Jennifer Lawrence. I'm a sustainability planner here at the City of Cambridge in the Community Development Department.
I'm Bronwyn Cook. I'm also a sustainability planner here in the Community Development Department. And I was just assisting Jen with drafting our contest. So excited to be here.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So, and Laura, you might be able to tell me this. If people are typing in questions, how do I see that?
Sorry. I'll search for the questions and I'll let you know.
And let us know. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so we just wanted to give a quick introduction to what our contest is. And then we had a few pre-questions, so I'm going to go through those and answer as many as I can. A lot of them are very general answers, like, that's up to you. Please come up with ideas. So if once we've gone through our quick spiel, there are any other questions that you have, you can chat them in and Laura will let us know. Our question is, how can we effectively mitigate the urban heat island effect in Cambridge, Massachusetts? And the reason why we came up with this question is because we're doing a whole host of planning right now around climate change, climate protection, and climate vulnerability. And we're just now going into a climate preparedness plan process. So for the next year or so, we'll be coming up with a concrete plan for I guess, mitigating some of the factors around our vulnerability to climate change, and also just searching for some creative solutions for trying to combat climate change on a very, very local level, and hoping to create a platform that other communities across the world can use, and specifically around the Massachusetts area. So as you've all seen on our page, we are really looking for localized solutions to this problem. And Laura and our team started meeting probably about almost a year ago now to talk through how can we take this great crowdsourcing platform that is international and make it local. So I know a lot of you on the Hangout today are from all over the world and might not know Cambridge specifically, and that's okay. And we're hoping to also, with all of you that are from all over the world, get a lot of people who know Cambridge specifically in Greater Boston really well so that we can make it a local actionable plan. So we are seeking innovative, realistic, actionable, and local-based strategies to mitigate the urban heat island effect, effective policies, programs, incentives, and regulatory ideas we're looking for, and they should be specific and measurable. So we're looking for stuff we can do. We're a municipal government. We're based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, right next to Boston. We have a very densely built community, and it's also covered, as most urban cores are, with a lot of impermeable surface. So we're really looking for some specific targeted efforts that we can do here in Cambridge. And as you'll see, for the folks who have already submitted proposals, our responses to you are generally, these are great ideas. How can they be specific to Cambridge? Where can we do this in Cambridge? So the goal of our ask of you is that we get some realistic ideas that we can actually implement here. So a lot of the questions we got pre-Hangout were, how do you know if it's realistic? How do you know if it's actionable? We want to be really innovative and creative, so we're not going to say, we're not going to say something isn't realistic and actionable unless it's, put a bubble around the city of Cambridge, because that's not going to help us globally. We really, really want to think outside of the box, which is why we're coming to you. So for the logistical stuff, at least one proposal will ultimately win this contest, and we'll plant a tree in your name. At least one winner will be invited to present their ideas in front of our advisory committee, which is the Climate Protection Action Committee, at our official public meeting, and all winners will be considered for inclusion in the Climate Change Preparedness and Resiliency Plan and will be asked to meet with city staff for further discussion about the proposals. So the goal of getting these proposals is that they turn into real policies, plans, regulations, and programming here in Cambridge. Okay, so as you've seen through a lot of our, if you've read through the contest page, there is a ton of resource that you can get there. One thing that there is not yet and will be coming soon is sort of vulnerability maps, so you can look at what heat maps are going to look like in different years. I think one is in 70 years and one is in 30 years. And then you'll also see some vegetative cover maps that currently exist. We are getting them down neighborhood by neighborhood. You'll also see some flooding maps too, which will help you as you're making your plans. Let me see. I just want to really go through a few of the questions were just about, you know, what will a successful program, what will a successful proposal look like? So I just want to reiterate, they're specific and location-based. So we don't want you to say plant trees. We want you to look at the heat index maps, to look at the flooding maps, and to say, this is where the trees should be planted. This will have the biggest bang for the buck. If they're most successful, if they target neighborhoods with the highest heat index in Cambridge, they should demonstrate effectiveness and describe how the success will be measured. It needs to be measurable for us to be able to go to city manager or city council and ask for funding for them. So we need to show us how they'll be measured. Benefits and cost would be really helpful. We need to be able to put budgets forward, and we're not the experts. As Bronwyn was saying before we started this hangout, we're going to you as the experts. So if you can let us know how much this has cost in other communities, or how much you think, if it's a brand new idea, how much you ballpark think it would cost, that will really help us. And we would love to not just target the low-hanging fruit. So think really creatively about what we can do here in Cambridge. We're a fairly progressive community, so our city government cares about this, wants it to work, so we can kind of try out some stuff and take some risks. Now, just to be specific on what the solution types look like, we're looking for community-based actions or city-led actions. We're looking for strategies or solutions for public property or for private property. These can be policy-focused, they can be regulatory strategies, they can be incentive programs, infrastructure, they can focus on the built environment or the vegetative environment. We also were throwing around the idea of there's all this data out there. So if you also don't necessarily have an idea of a mitigation, sorry, something just popped up. If you don't have an idea on a mitigation tactic, but you do have a cool idea for how we can manipulate data to, or analyze data in a better way, send that out as well. Propose that, because we also would like to be able to figure out what we're missing data-wise, what we do have, and what we can use more creatively now. And then I believe just the last thing before I get into your questions, there has been confusion over when the contest ends. Proposal due date is February 6th. It's not January 31st, it's February 6th. And then from there we'll go into the semifinals, finals, and the public voting period. Okay, so questions that were asked. The first one was, actually the first two had to do with what kinds of programs are you looking for. Some people asked about different kinds of pavement types, pervious surfaces, rooftops. All of that is fair game. We want you to be as creative as possible. So think about all of that kind of stuff as you're thinking of programming. Some people had questions about, I have an idea, but I don't know all of the logistics, or I don't know the names of the plants or whatever. Get as deep into your program as you can. Propose, and then our fellows, which Bronwyn and I are fellows, and we have 2 other fellows, will ask you for the specifics where we need them. So get ideas in there, be as specific as you can, and then we'll tell you what's missing. Sorry, I'm just going down through. The budget and the time frame is a really good question. So we're a municipal government, and we are running on a fiscal year that starts on July 1. So for this fiscal year, we're out. We can't put anything into the budget. It's already being negotiated now. However, for next fiscal year, which will be July 1 of 2016, that's when any municipal capital kind of items can come from our funding pockets. But we are also always looking for grant proposals, and we're always writing grant proposals and looking for grant funding. So that if we have some great, awesome, creative, innovative ideas, we can start writing grant proposals now to get in. So that's the timeline. Budget-wise, we don't know. We're really trying to fit this into a lot of our other programming. We have a net zero task force right now, and we're working on our climate change vulnerability assessment and preparedness plan. We can really, we're being very general with what the budget restrictions are.
And I would just add that it's a lot, sort of a little insight into municipal government. It's a lot easier to ask for money if you have a really great idea on the table and say, this is going to help us achieve one of our objectives or one of our goals. So that's what we're trying to do, is gather some of those ideas, select the ones that we really can go to our city manager and our city council and say, this is a great idea. This is the money that we need to implement it, and it's going to help achieve our goals. So that's kind of what we're looking to you guys for. Is what are those ideas that we can ask for money for?
Right. And I think it's really important to us that we don't just have one winner, that we have as many winners as possible, because we want as many programs and policies and regulations as possible. On that note, somebody asked, what does our city structure look like? So we're a city manager-led municipality. We have a city council and we have staff. So the city council ultimately sets the budget. The city council ultimately votes on any ordinances or regulations that are passed and any zoning that is passed. So if you have really specific zoning ideas, we're the staff that can guide that until it gets to the city council, and once it gets to the city council, we've already done the work to make sure that it fits with what their goals are and their needs, so that it will pass. So if you have zoning ideas, if you have regulatory ideas, throw those in there. Those will be the kinds of things that will probably work with you iteratively over the next series of years until we can get things passed. And we really do want to get things passed. So city manager led, city council votes and approves on budget and any regulatory stuff for zoning. And then the other thing is that we have a staff that's really collaborative cross-department. So we can work with the Department of Public Works on streetway improvements. We can work with the Department of Human Services on sort of public engagement and community engagement around ideas to get more voices, I guess, into City Council. We work with traffic and parking on streetways. So there's lots of stuff we can do here, and I want people to be really creative in the way that they're thinking about their proposals. Let me see. Was there another? Yeah. Laura, can everybody hear us?
Everybody should be able to hear you. Are you getting some emails or?
No, we haven't gotten anything.
Yeah, no, it's working fine.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to check to make sure. Nope. It looks good. Okay, awesome. So now I'm going to turn it over. Bronwyn's got to leave in about 10 minutes, so I'm going to turn it over to her to talk about the specific questions on Urban Heat Island itself. And so the question was, are there current situational and locational problem hotspots? Which neighborhoods and structures are the greatest heat sources and that kind of stuff, which we don't have to answer completely, but
yes, I probably won't be able to answer that completely. So the sort of our key indicator that we've been looking at are the heat island maps that were developed as part of our climate vulnerability assessment, and I guess I didn't realize that those are not up yet.
yeah, I didn't realize either. They'll be going up hopefully today.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a huge piece of information. It's a really nice clue as to where in Cambridge we're seeing the areas that have a higher urban heat island effect. You know, Cambridge is small at 6 square miles. I think a lot of cities have implemented, you know, tree planting programs, and you know, we could certainly do something citywide in Cambridge, but we would hate to see all of our efforts be targeted in, say, around the Alewife area that already has quite a bit of tree canopy cover. We want to see these programs be really targeted in the areas that have a higher urban heat island, so that we're really impacting the areas that are going to be, or we're improving the areas that are going to be impacted the most by urban heat island. So in those places that are really dense urban environments like the Kendall Square neighborhood and around the MIT campus. So once those maps are up, that'll be a very obvious and visual indication to use to where we're seeing some of the higher urban heat island impacts. The specific effects of urban heat island that we're most concerned about are health and heat-related deaths. That would be huge, the health impacts. Overall air quality is a concern. I would say water quality, maybe, I don't know, make the case. Maybe we should be more concerned than we are about that, but I would say that falls a little bit lower on our priorities. And then the other big concern is that the increase in electrical demand that's going to come from everybody running cooling in their buildings. That's going to be a huge impact that we want to try and minimize. So those are our biggest concerns with urban heat island.
And I would say if you think of it in terms, well, the way that we're thinking about it is livability and health. So think about the ripple effect of a community that's not livable and a community that people are not able to be healthy in. And you know, there comes heat. There's air quality. There's heat deaths. There's increased use of AC and all that kind of stuff.
And one of the other questions that came up that I think I can address a little bit is people were wondering, you know, what types of solutions should be included. And I would say broadly, we're looking for any solution you think would really have an impact on the urban heat island here in Cambridge, but some specific questions around would we consider different pavement types such as pervious surfaces. If there is a proven cooling effect of pervious surfaces, then yes, absolutely, we would consider that. There's a lot of pavement in Cambridge, and if that's where we can have the most impact, then that's great. Somebody also asked, do the proposals have to include rooftops? Again, you know, we're sort of aware of all the different solutions that are possible, but we don't really know where we would have the greatest impact. So should we focus entirely on roofs, or is our roofs too much of a heavy lift? Are they really expensive to do, and there's too few and far between that we could do, and so we really should be focused on tree plantings more because we'll get more bang for our buck. So that's just to say that rooftops can be included, but they don't have to be necessarily. And I'd say that's true for any of the solutions that, you know, are sort of common in dealing with urban heat island is, you know, if there's one solution that you think would really have a huge impact and you want to just focus on that, great. If you think that there's a whole suite of things that we should be doing that includes pavements and rooftops and tree plantings, then that would also work as a proposal as well.
And then I think, thank you, Bronwyn, that's perfect. There was a specific question about what concepts and measures have already been explored and deemed unfeasible or ineffective, and to that the answer is none. So far we're starting at a blank slate. We've done a ton of research. If you look at who our judges are, they're leaders in this, in many different aspects of urban heat island nationwide. So we know a lot of information. What we're looking for is just a whole lot of ideas that are doable and actionable. On that note, and getting back to something that Bronwyn just touched upon, if you are looking at other project proposals in the sort of suite of ideas people have already started proposing, and you find one that is very similar to what you want to propose, please contact that proposal author and share ideas. I think the really awesome ideas or uses of the Colab platform is that you can communicate with one another, and there's power in numbers. So if you can communicate with one another and make an idea or a proposal even stronger by bouncing ideas off of each other and brainstorming, then do it. That would be really, really wonderful. And I know that our lead fellow, Hannah, who's not on the Hangout today, she's probably going to say that to you. If it seems like there's two very similar ones, she's going to say, will you two talk to one another and see if you can make it an even cooler idea. Okay, so there were just some logistical questions that also came up. Do we have to deliver our solution proposal in person? I know that one of the things we said was we would love for you to come and propose if you win to our Climate Protection Action Committee. If you're really far away, if you're in Australia, you don't have to come and be here in person.
We'll do a Google chat.
We can do a Google chat because we know how to do it now. And so you can do that, and we can, there's so many ways to do it. So no, you don't have to be here in person. All of the other questions were very specific project ideas, and we're not going to comment on whether or not your idea is a good idea. We're really going to comment on, have you answered the questions that are specifically laid out in the guidelines. So if you send us any idea, any questions about, is cool paving the way to go, or can we trap heat for later use? Go for it. That's for you to figure out. That we want you to come to us with a really clear and concise proposal, and then we'll write back to you about the specific logistics of filling out, answering the questions in the guidelines. We're not going to throw out, no, that's a horrible idea, or, oh, that's great, that's wonderful. So just be creative, and if you answer all the questions, then you'll be fine.
I would also say that some of these ideas that were thrown out, or maybe they were sort of posed as questions, are really specific. So, for example, is there a way to trap heat for later use? The question is, I don't know. If you have any great ideas, that would be fantastic. And if there's more information that you need in terms of, infrastructure that's already available and in place in the city, or systems that are already in place in the city, and you need to know some more information in order to answer that question yourself, contact us, because I think we've posted links to all of our public data that's available. But if there's something if there's some piece of information that you're missing and that you need in order to really draft a great proposal, and it's not available on the public data portal, let us know, because we might be able to hunt that down for you and provide that information to you.
Yeah, and just before, I've got a message from Laura, so we're going to go to that in a second. But so the City of Cambridge just recently launched an open data portal, so you can get so much of our data there, and we would love for you to use it, manipulate it, and use it to answer these questions you've thrown out there. It's really cool, and so we want you to be able to use it, and I think it will help the powers that be within the city to see people using it, to realize how important it is, and to keep that updated, and we love it as a source. So let me just check and see what we got over here. Nothing. It's an old one. Okay, so
I can say a couple of things.
Questions?
Yeah, so I'll just to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Laura Fisher. I'm the project manager of the Climate Collab, and I'm happy to be working with the City of Cambridge on this neat contest. And so if you have any questions, anybody who's tuning in, feel free to enter them in the group chat there or on the event page if that's where you are watching from. And we will be recording this and posting this online if you do want to reference it later. And a couple things I wanted to add to this conversation. I want to move forward with what Jen was saying about how people can collaborate and use the platform. So if your idea isn't completely fleshed out or isn't fully formed yet, that's okay. You can still submit a proposal onto the site and edit it as many times as you'd like up until February 6th. So on February 6th, it will automatically be frozen, but just like a Google Doc, you can go and edit it as much as you want before then. And then if you have an idea but maybe have some gaps, so for example, you don't know, you've never been to Cambridge, Massachusetts, you don't know what it's like there, you know nothing about it, but you have a neat idea or a way that your town or your city has worked on the urban heat island effect before, then feel free to submit it and then state where you're looking for help, because maybe there's someone from the City of Cambridge who's actually joining the site and can say, okay, well, I know a lot about the different areas in the city specifically where this might be appropriate for. So I invite you to submit whatever information that you have or whatever piece you can contribute, and then also look into other proposals, and we have the ability for you to join their teams or even just comment and give some support. So again, feel free to contribute even little bits of information, even if you don't have the full picture fledged out yet.
Thanks, Laura. And I just, on that note, I would love to just add, a lot of people asked about specific infrastructure projects, and I think because we lead in our lists with policy and regulatory actions as like the first couple things, that's not all we're looking for. So it doesn't just have to be a policy or a regulation that you want to see implemented here. It can be any kind of a project from you know, green roof infrastructure or whatever. So be very, don't think it just has to be policy and regulations.
Great. So I don't have any questions here. So it sounds like you answered all of them. We might get some coming in via email. So if that happens, I'll let you know.